Hello everybody, Deb here from Star Yoga. So I wasn't actually planning on filming this class, and I decided I was going to do some yoga, and I wanted to do yin, and then I changed my mind and I thought I may as well film it. So welcome to yin. So this is my first online yin class. This is suitable for beginners as well, so if you're brand new to yoga, yin can be a good introduction. With yin yoga, just be aware that even though we're remaining still and holding a pose for a set amount of time, some poses can still be quite challenging and tough on the body. So just make sure you listen to your body, and if you feel any sharpness, twinges or pain when holding a pose, then come straight out of the pose. So yin yoga is all about taking the time to work into our fascia, our connective tissues. So it's like a sheath that surrounds our muscles. And when we spend time on lengthening and strengthening the fascia and the connective tissues, it helps with our range of motion, our joint health and mobility, and just makes us feel really good as well. It does have a meditative quality to it because we are remaining still and holding the poses for longer. So there is that kind of mindfulness that comes into practice as well. So yeah, let's start. So we start with some meditation. Now just find a comfortable seat. Also, if you have a block handy, please have that nearby. Even if you don't have a block, you can use like some hardcover books or something. I do have my iPad just beside me, but it's just to use the timer for when we hold the yin poses, and you'll just hear a little chime, and that's when I'll cue to come out of the poses. And I'll just say, just when we come into each pose, I will talk briefly maybe about the pose or about yin as a whole, as a practice, and then we'll remain in stillness and silence for the remainder of the pose. Alright, so with our meditation, just find a comfortable seat. I can't seem to decide which leg I want. Let's go right leg. So whether that's cross leg, one foot on top of the other, or even sitting up on a block or a bolster. Maybe you'll sit on my block. Yeah, that feels good. And come to find your comfortable seat. You can rest your hands on your knees with your palms facing up to the sky. You can even bring your index finger and thumb to touch in the seal of knowledge hand mudra. Close the eyes. Take a couple of breaths, breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. With our meditation, we're just going to spend about 2 to 3 minutes here sitting quietly. If you find that your mind starts to wander and jump all around the place, thinking of all these different thoughts, try to bring the attention to an object of your choosing that you love, whether that's your favorite book, a crystal, something in your home, maybe even your favorite flower that you can visualize. And when you find that your mind is starting to jump all over the place, just try to be aware of that and accept it, and then bring the focus back to your object of your choice. So thinking of your object, we're just going to sit here in silence for the next few minutes. Nice natural breathing. circle your wrists around. Interlace your fingers and just reach up nice and tall. In this yin practice today, we'll be focusing mainly on our legs. This sequence of yin poses is from Bernie Clark's book, The Complete Guide to Yin Yoga. Really good book. I call it my Yin Bible, and it has lots of different sequences targeting different parts of the body. So I have taken the sequence from his book just to give credit to him where it's due. I may have tweaked the whole time slightly, but yeah, it's mainly from his book here. Bernie Clark is a very well-known Canadian yoga teacher, and he's written many books, and this one's really good philosophy and practice of yin. Okay. So we're going to come into our first pose, which is butterfly pose. So we're going to be working into the 4 main quadrants of the legs. So by that I mean the tops of your legs, your quads, your backs of legs, your hamstrings, the inner thighs, and then the outer thighs as well. So with this first yin pose, coming into butterfly. Now in a vinyasa practice we might draw the feet in close to the body, but in yin we have the legs out quite far away from us, so it's forming more of a diamond shape with the legs. And with the arms, just inhale your arms up and then let them fall and drape down onto the ground with your palms facing up. So your hands are down on the earth, the backs of your hands, and you have a rounding of the spine. It's called flexion of the spine, and you want to feel no engagement through your legs. If you have, so you're not sort of tensing your muscles or, like we might do in a vinyasa practice. If you have a block or 2 blocks and you find that your knees are quite high up, feel free to place the blocks underneath each knee or bolsters or blankets, whatever you can to kind of help your legs rest there. So yin is all about sort of letting go and finding the edge where you can feel something in the pose that we're holding and then holding it. So I'm just going to pop the timer on. We're going to come down, float your arms down onto the earth, and we hold our butterfly for 3 minutes. So if you find that you have your legs quite far apart and it doesn't feel quite right for you, do feel free to bring them in slightly. This will work sort of the outer thighs and the IT band a little bit more. If you have them further away, it's more working into the hamstrings. And as your arms come down and your spine rounds, just let the head drop down as well. Once again, feel free to use props if you'd like to rest your head on something. If you don't really like it sort of hanging there, you can put your block in between your legs or a blanket or something like that. And we hold here and we remain nice and still. So this is where you have to let the pose do its work. So even though it may feel like we're not doing much, we're actually doing a whole lot by remaining nice and still in a pose, really working into the connective tissues and the fascia in our hamstrings and outsides of the thighs, and also that flexion of the spine. So let's hold here. We've got about 1.5 minutes to go. time. So rising up nice and slow. And then what we do in between each pose is we just move around just to get the energy flowing back through our bodies. So you can just windscreen wiping your legs from side to side. Maybe just circle your arms around. So after remaining still, it's good to just get that circulation flowing, blood flowing back through our bodies, and the chi energy going again. Okay, good. Maybe bring your legs out in front and give them a little bit of a shake. And we come into our second yin pose. So this is called straddle in yin. It is a wide leg forward fold for those that might have a regular practice and aren't sure what I mean by straddle, but in yin they are called different names. So coming into straddle, you do have the option of sitting up higher on your block. This is good, particularly if you have quite tight hamstrings, and it just can allow you to kind of round the spine and come down a little lower. And I'm not going to use the block for this one. And with straddle, we hold for 4 minutes. So you want your hips to rotate forward in this pose. Okay, and once again, we are focusing on rounding the spine, so flexion of the spine. If you find you have really tight hamstrings and you put your legs down and it just feels super, super tight for you, you can have bent knees and come into this one. So I'm just going to face this way, just to give you a different view. Okay, have your legs pretty much as wide as you can, and you may find that when you do straddle in yin, that you can't come down as low as you may normally do in a vinyasa class, and that's just because with yin we come into each pose with cold muscles because we want to focus on the connective tissue rather than the muscles. So if the muscles are warm, if we did a warm-up, that's what we would be targeting when we come into a still pose and hold it. But with yin, we want everything nice and cool because we want to be working into what's surrounding the muscles. So don't feel dismayed if you can't fold forward as far as you normally can. It's not really about that, it's just about having nice, relaxed, loose legs, no engagement, folding forward and letting the pose do the work for you. So find your edge. Now with the block, if you're not sitting on it, you can have it in front of you, and you can have it vertically, and you can place your forehead on it, or down lower if you're able to come down lower. Let your arms fall forward, once again palms facing up to the sky, and then let the head drop down. And we hold straddle for 4 minutes. I'm just going to pop the timer on, and it's starting now for us. So you're down in your straddle pose, your forehead drops down. And you may notice the longer you hold the pose, the more depth you can find. So initially when you come into the pose, like I mentioned, you may find that you're quite high up. But as time goes on, you may just gradually come down a little lower. And with the yin, that's really the only time, apart from if you're in pain, that you should be moving in a pose. So it's if you're just coming into the pose a little deeper, or obviously if there's pain, sharpness, twinges, you come out of the pose and then you remain nice and still. So as you're holding your straddle pose, I'll just talk briefly about your breath. So in a yin class, you don't want to be breathing too deeply and too heavily. If you find that the pose becomes challenging, then by all means you can use your breath to hold the pose. However, you don't need to do that sort of deep ujjayi breathing that you might do in a vinyasa class. However, you do want to focus on the breath, and that can help you. So we do what we call ocean's breath. So with our ocean's breath, you breathe in with your lips closed, making that sound like a wave, and then you exhale with your lips closed. closed, making the ha sound like a wave. And we breathe in for a count of 4 and breathe out for a count of 4. And what you can do is, as you're holding the pose, you can even breathe in for 4, pause at the top for 1, and then breathe out for 4. Rather than continuous 4 and 4, you can have a slight pause. So still holding your pose, you're about halfway through. Maybe start to engage your ocean's breath, breathing in nice and slow for 4. Breath sounds like a wave. Pausing for a breath and then breathing out for 4. Rising up nice and slowly. Once again, getting the energy flowing back through our bodies. So bend your knees, draw them in. Once again, windscreen, wiping your knees from side to side. Have your hands pointing, fingers pointing away from you. And because we've just spent 2 poses with that flexion of the spine, that rounding, you may just want to gently push into your palms and press your chest up towards the sky, just to kind of get some extension into the back. Might feel a little sensitive after the rounding. You can stretch your legs out nice and long and maybe give them a shake at the same time. Good. Coming into our 3rd pose, focusing on the legs. This is caterpillar. So another forward fold with that spine again, flexing forward, stretching the legs out, face this way, out in front. Once again, you're not engaging through your quads or flexing the toes back towards your face. You've got nice relaxed legs. Let's just move around here just before we come into the pose. Maybe circle the ankles around a few times, give your legs another shake. And we inhale, our arms up, and then we just fold down and let your arms fall, drape them down on either side of your legs. Let your palms be open up towards the sky. Let the crown of the head drop down. Option is you can have a block, maybe don't place it on your knees directly. You can have it up higher if you like. Vertically, place your forehead on it, or if you're able to come down low, you can place your forehead on it. Feel free to sit on a blanket or a bolster if you find that it's particularly tight through your hamstrings again, and even have bent knees if they're super tight and still feel the benefits of the pose. And we hold our caterpillar for 3 minutes. So just particular pose, and I'll talk a little bit about this one. So with this one, we're obviously working through the backs of the legs, and we're also focusing on compressing our stomach organs. So this can help with our digestion. So a lot going on in this pose. For those that aren't the greatest fans of yin, if you find it really hard to kind of remain still, it's probably what you need more of in your practice yin classes. So it's usually those that don't like yin that need yin. So it is a bit of a mental mindfulness challenge as well, because there's not a whole lot going on when you're just holding the pose. So focusing on your ocean's breath, maybe trying to think of positive things, and if you find that the time in the pose seems to be dragging on, sometimes it does, just bringing the awareness back to the body and thinking about all the great benefits that the yin practice can do for you. So let's just hold our caterpillar. We've got about 1:40 to go. Find that edge where you can feel the pose and hold. Rising up nice and slowly. Bend your knees, bring your hands behind you, fingertips pointing away. Reach up through your chest, lift it up towards the sky. Bring your legs straight out in front, give them a shake. And then with your hands, your fingertips are pointing away from you, just turn them around so your fingertips are pointing towards you. Just lift up into a quick reverse tabletop. And then lower down, hips come down, hips lift up. Just do this a couple of times. And lower all the way down. And let's move into swan pose. So with our swan pose, just roll over into a tabletop position and bring your right foot forward so your toes are going to come up behind your left wrist. Now there's lots of options here. Your first option is you can have that right leg quite bent so your toes are pointing more down towards the left hip flexor. This is good more so if you have quite tight, or you feel quite tight through your hips and the side of the leg. Now the other option is you can bring the shin forward to the front of your mat. Just make sure you're not kind of dumping into that right side. You still want to feel the engagement through the outside of the right leg. And you can even place a block block underneath that right hip if you find that it's quite high up off the mat. So just come and find your comfortable swan pose. Your other leg is stretched out long behind, the front of the foot is flat on the mat. I'm going to bring my foot quite close in because I'm feeling quite tight through my legs at the moment. With your arms, you can stay lifted up nice and high, and you will feel some engagement through your forearms and even through your back and shoulders, and you can hold here for the length of the pose, or you can lower your head down to your hands and hold here. I'm going to stay upright, and we hold our swan pose for 2 minutes. So just noticing the sensations that you may be feeling through your hips, through your left hip flexor, through the outside of your right leg, and even through that glute. Maybe start to bring the awareness to your ocean's breath. Inhale for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 4, 3, 2, 1. As you exhale, inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. If you are high up with the arms, do feel free to lower them down whenever you feel like it. And then come down low and get another compression of your stomach organs with your belly rests on your right thigh. Nice and slow, just sliding that right foot back into a tabletop. Stretch the right leg out long behind you, toes to mat. Maybe you'd like to come up into a quick down dog and bend one knee, then bend the other. Then slide your left leg through. And with Yin, feel free to make an adjustment on the other side of your body. So it doesn't have to be balanced out between your right and left side, like we might do in a vinyasa or hatha flow. So if you find that this side feels a lot tighter, or you feel more sort of looser, more flexy on this side, make any adjustments you need to. So if you don't want the block on this side, you don't have to have the block if you had it on the right side. And if you'd like to bring your foot in towards your right hip flexor, you can do so if you didn't have that on the other side. So finding your edge where you can feel the pose, no pain, no sharpness, no twinges. You can just feel something going on. Choosing what you'd like to do with your arms, whether it's upright or down low. And let's hold our swan for 2 minutes. nice and slowly. Just slide that knee back into a tabletop. Maybe draw the hips towards the heels, stretch out long through the arms, come back up, down dog, bend one knee, bend the other. You lower your knees down and we come into a shoelace pose. So this can be quite a challenging pose for a lot of us. So I'll give you some options here. So with your right leg, just stretch your left leg out long first, and with your right leg, cross it over the left leg, and then begin to walk the foot out to the front of the mat, so it's on the outer edge of the foot. So this is your first option, and you may find that this is enough for you. You can certainly feel it as soon as you bring that foot out. You can feel it through the side of the leg and through the hamstrings of the leg that's stretched out. If you have any knee issues, you may just want to stay here. Okay, this might be enough for you. Another option, if you find this is a little tough on your knees, is you can come into just a reclined pigeon pose. So you're just crossing one ankle over the knee, pressing the knee away from you and lifting the leg up and holding here. So this is your option for anyone with any knee issues. You can even do this pose for swan as an alternative as well. Okay, so this might be where you're at. If you'd like to try the full shoelace pose, you're going to bend your outstretched leg in, start to walk, slide that bottom leg outer edge out to the back of your mat, and you'll feel that straight away, especially through the hips and the sides of the legs. Now, two options here, whether your legs straight out with one over or not. You can stay up nice and tall, just gently rest your hands on your feet, or you can round your spine and fold forward, bring the crown of the head down to the earth. So your choice. I'm going to, I think I'll fold forward for this one, and we hold each side for 3 minutes, so it's quite a long hold. Just pop the timer on. If you do have any lower back issues in your lumbar spine, just watch with folding forward. You might just want to stay upright. And slowly lower down if that's what you're choosing to do. Really intense pose to hold. Work with your breath, breathing in for 4, pausing at the top, breathing out for 4. So all these poses are really good for you to do if you are doing a lot of running, walking and cycling at the moment. Working through, like I mentioned at the start, all 4 quadrants of your legs. time to hold. Sometimes it can feel like an eternity, that last minute. Uncross that top leg, bring the leg straight out in front, give them a bit of a shake, bring the ankles, toes, swish them from side to side, bend one knee up, then the other. And we come into the other side. Just stretching out your right leg nice and long, crossing your left leg over, choosing to either have that leg straight out or bending it in. And just start to bring the feet out to the top and bottom edges of your mat. Staying up nice and tall, or folding forward, and we do 3 minutes on this side. Yin's really good to practice if you are active, like I mentioned, with that more sort of cardio sort of aspect of your life. It's really good to incorporate yin, even if it's just once a week, just to balance out all that yang that we do. I'm only noticing the difference between your right and your left side in this pose. I know it feels a lot more intense for me with my, I'm actually mirroring you guys, so it's my right leg that's over. If you find that it is starting to feel intense, use your breath. Focus on your inhales and your exhales, pausing for a breath in between. Got about 20 seconds to go, just a little longer. Oh, that one's a killer. And I've got pins and needles on my foot as well. Okay, coming out, take your legs, swish, 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 maybe circle your arms around a couple of times, roll your shoulders, and come into a slight back extension, fingertips pointing away, reach your chest up towards the sky, come back down, and we come into our last pose is Banasana, banana pose, Banasana. So this works into your IT band. When you come into this pose, just try not to, I'll show you what it is first before I tell you that. So you come to lie down on your back, and then bring your feet over to the left corner of your mat. Bring your arms up above your head, and then you're going to, so your palms are facing up, bring your arms around to the left top corner of your mat. So you're forming a curve with your body shaped like a banana, banasana. Try not to engage your legs, just let them feel nice and loose. And just make sure you're not twisting that hip too much. So you're not sort of reaching too far around that left hip feels like it's twisted. Reaching up, reaching round. You want to feel it through the right side of your body. If you can't feel anything, then by all means feel free to bring your arms more so around to the left. Watch that top shoulder, that it's not lifting too high up off your mat. You can even place a towel or a blanket or something underneath. You could even take opposite elbows and just rest them above your head, and that might be enough for you. If you start to notice any tingling in the arms or the hands, just bring them down and rest them alongside you. If the tingling passes, you can maybe try again, reaching them up and over. If not, just keep them down. I forgot to put the timer on, so I'm just going to have to guesstimate. I'm going to reach my arms around. Nice, steady, slow breathing. Maybe close your eyes. Use the time to focus on your mind, maybe what thoughts are popping in and out as you hold the pose. Just being aware of your thoughts, observing them, and maybe pushing them to the side, focusing on the breath, thinking about an object of your choosing that you love. Hopefully you can't hear my stomach rumbling. Come back to center, bring the arms alongside you, maybe bend your knees, and then reach your arms back up, float them down, stretch out long, you have a bit of a wriggle, bend your arms at the elbows, stretch them up, circle your wrists, and come round into the other side. So if you come over to the right corner of your mat, you should feel that straight away through your left side. Reach your arms up and over, then bend them round and come into your banana shape, banasana. Do you like saying that? Banasana. Find that edge where you can feel the pose. We hold the pose, remaining nice and still as we can, and we hold it for a length of time. So I think we're here for about 2 minutes or so, I'm guesstimating because I haven't put the timer on. And start to make your way back to straight. Move around, just do whatever feels good here. You can even draw your knees in towards your chest and bring your head up towards them. Stretch your legs out long. Circle your wrists. Interlace your fingers, stretch them up high to the sky. And coming into Shavasana. So in Yin, we bring our legs quite wide apart and our arms. Make yourself nice and comfortable. Blankets, pillows, whatever you would like to add just to make yourself nice and cozy and warm. We don't hold our Shavasana in Yin for as long as maybe a vinyasa flow, just because we've already remained still for a lot of the class, so we don't really need to hold it for as long as maybe we would in a more yang style class. Closing the eyes, relax out through the entire body. Palms facing up towards the sky. Toes just flop out to the sides. Nice relaxed face. Resting the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Making sure you're not storing any tension through your forehead and brow. Eyes closed. Just letting your body reap the benefits of your Yin practice. Nice natural breathing. Slowly opening up your eyes, maybe wriggle your toes and your fingers. Roll over to your left side. Remain here for a few rounds of breath. Slowly push yourself up to your comfortable seat. Hands come to heart center. Just taking the time to thank yourselves for choosing to practice Yin today. Take a nice big inhale. Maybe exhale out through the mouth. One more inhale. Exhale out through the mouth. And bow your head over your fingertips. Namaste.